So I did not expect this many people to come to church. I'm not going to lie. Which is why I did not want to write and spend hours on a sermon. I'm just being honest with you. It's a lot of work. And I prefer for a full room. But had I, next year or at the last service of the year, I know I can preach a full sermon. But actually, I've done this before with Reverend Anastasia and with Reverend Fred and Christina. And actually, these kinds of services can be fun. I started to do it with passing out pieces of paper, but that gets to be tedious. You have to get through the pieces of paper and organize them, collate them, and it's way too much work. So I sent an email out, and thank God only about 12 people responded. You would think more would respond, but I'm assuming that these 12 questions speak for all of you in the democratic process. I'm going to try to use some humor because my nature is actually silly. Which is how I, like most comedians, make light of very difficult things. And one of the first questions, I've organized these questions in a certain way to go from softballs to curveballs. And I have notes, so this is not extemporaneous, which these services normally are, but I decided that, no, I'm not going to do that. I ramble. In what ways does attending seminary change a person? It completely changed me. And I think the Methodists who told me not to go to Howard and to go to Wesley would probably regret that now. By going to Wesley Seminary, which is a really liberal seminary, and not a traditional African American seminary, which was also liberal, but more steeped in my tradition, I saw a different world. In seeing that world, which I believe was meant to be, in seeing that world, it rocked my world, literally, to the core. It rocked and rippled all the way through my first marriage, which often happens, by the way. If you're married and you go to seminary, you sometimes get divorced. It happens more often than you think. Because it's a life-changing experience, seminary teaches you how to ask questions, especially a good liberal seminary. And that's what it did for me. And it moved me right out of the United Methodist Church, because if the virgin birth was mythological, then why wasn't the resurrection? And there it was. He was on his way to UU. I just didn't know it. It also creates ambiguity, which is a necessary tool for the expanding of one's consciousness. Ambiguity is not really being able to give a yes or no, or it's like the gray area, that things have a I was very black and white. I didn't really think about things, that there were nuances to things, and it made me really have to think about that. So that's what happened. And I learned that fundamentalism and being right was actually dangerous. And that just continued to evolve. I think sometimes you're right, but again, as I've learned in relationships, you can be right and totally blow up your relationship because you gotta be right. You know, you won't compromise. And fundamentalism, which comes out not just in religion, it comes out in, you know, some people's dietary habits, some people's exercise habits. It comes out, this fundamentalism comes out in so many ways, and as the song says, check yourself before you wreck yourself. You have to continuously think about, like, am I being fundamental, rigid, dogmatic in my pronouncements, in my relationships, that I have to be right? Seminary sort of took that out of me, and I'm thankful for that. In your opinion, what is God? I noticed the person said, "What is God?" Interesting question. How has your understanding evolved? Well, we should bring back building your own theology. It's an old UU course. And most people started out as mine did, as the white man in the sky with a beard who judged you, Santa Claus. They're children, yeah. Be careful, John, careful. That was my vision. That's what I believed. And slowly I saw God as the cosmos, but that didn't quite work either. I actually believe it is something outside of the cosmos. Like if you go in a room and you cut the light on, like you're not the light, you're the person that cut the light on. It, beyond gender, it is as it has been described, as the first cause. That is beyond our little comprehension. So that is one of those ambiguous curiosity things that I always lean on. And if somebody tells you the answer, walk away. Now, I'll tell you what the answer is. I'm kidding. I'm going to give you what I believe. I've said this to you before, if you put an O, add an O to it, and you have the word. Some of y'all can't spell. If you add an O and you put the word, and you have the word good, so then God is all that is good for me. I believe that first cause is good, that evil exists, but is a very complicated manifestation of egos, desires, family structures, environments, brokenness, mental health, addiction, all of that, greed, all of that, but greed comes from another place of unmet need. All of that creates and manifests in what we describe as evil. But all human beings are inherently good to me. All human beings are inherently the image of the first cause. God, good. That's how I do it. So, in Unitarian Universalism, we put love at the center, just like Christians might put a cross, or some put God at the center. So that love can be whatever you want it to represent. And then we have the 6 values. We have way more than 6 values, but that's something to start with. So we also put God at the center, if you want to say that. We put love at the center. We put good at the center. And it manifests. If that good is to be manifest in our relationships, then we have to have these values emanating. The jet pig. Jet pig. Yes. 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 I hear one person giving it all back to me. You all need to memorize that. There's your elevator pitch. We put love at the center, and we have these 6 values. If we are operating with love at the center and living these 6 values, we're living a good life. That's what we do. Jet pig. All right. What's the meaning of life, and why are we here? If someone asks you that, you say to them like a good therapist, well, what do you think it is? And then your response is, exactly. But this person responded with what they thought it was, and they find it in Matthew chapter 7, verses 7 through 8. Ask, and it shall be given. Seek, and ye shall find. Knock, and the door shall be open. And it's true, when we knock on a door, eventually Might take hours or days because they're not home. Someone will eventually open a door. And if you don't believe that, ask any cat. I have 4 now, and they have more faith than anybody. I'll never forget one time I called in the office. I don't know what this has to do with my answer, but Fred was in the office. I see Fred back there. That's what made me think of it. And I said, I'm late getting to the office. He said, what's going on? I said, my cat got outside and it's in a tree and I need to get it out of the tree. And I'm worried that it's stuck in the tree. And Fred says, well, John, I don't think I ever remember a cat ever not being able to get out of a tree. I said, you know, you're right. I know where this comes from. I know what it means now. Things do what they're supposed to do. Cats have this natural faith and trust, and they get what they need. The birds, as the scripture says, get what they need. They don't necessarily search for meaning. They just live and they get what they need. And I changed gears a little bit. Things become what they're supposed to become. I believe humans are destined to evolve and to be the best version of ourselves, the greatest version of good that can be. That's my premise. Once I believe that, then I can go back to this question. If I believe humans are doomed, then I have to answer this question differently. But if I have an optimistic viewpoint, which I do, of humanity, despite what we see, then what is the meaning of life? Why are we here? To be the best version of ourselves. And then I would expand this, and again, this is mystical for me, that if first cause cut the light on, then it has some control over that electricity. I'm not the first cause, maybe, but I am a part of it. I do emanate from it. I could say that I am it. If I believe that that first cause is good, then I am good. Then I must seek to do my best good in life, whatever that means for each person. I believe that our highest good is always going to be lifting up the inherent worth and dignity of every person. It may look different in what we do for a living and all those different, but it will always be about lifting up the inherent worth and dignity of every person. For all that is our life, we sing or give our thanks and praise. For all life is a gift which we are called to use to build the common good and make our own days glad. That's the purpose of life. Isn't that enough? This one is difficult. What is the difference between religion and art? So religion is a sacred system of beliefs by a group of people. That's really what religion is. A sacred system of belief. Often a deity is involved, but in our case, not necessarily. And we share stories, we share rituals, shared meaning. But art is about like creative aesthetic of an individual. Now, groups of people can certainly view that art, whether it be pencil art or painting or graphic design. But what people fail to realize is that art is everywhere. If you look down on the floor, someone designed that. If you look at the design of this building, that's art. If you look at any frame, that's art. If you look at any chair, that's art. If you look at the texture on the chair, that's art. Art is everywhere. Art is God. So there is no separation of religion and art. In fact, my belief is that there is no separation, period. That is our own construct. But that most things are both and. Art and religion. I mean, religion without art is bland. Religion without Justin is pretty bland. I didn't even mention music. But someone paid for a sermon on music, so that one's going to wait. That was Patty, yes. It's a year late. And both share language of the holy. And religion needs artists. Art needs meaning. Reverend John, do you believe in spirit guides? So the semantics isn't the point. I don't use that language. I know people do. But I definitely believe in the numbers. The numbers are strange. I see them all the time. And it started around 2016 when numbers just started talking to me. And I'm sure some of you around here probably thought I was going nuts because anytime something crazy happened, I'd come flying through here telling everybody. But now I'm sort of at peace with it. When they come at the most opportune time, I can tell you that some of you already know this because you're experiencing them too. Those 222s and 1111 and 333 and they call them angel numbers. One could say those are spirit guides. You can look them up and see what the message is right away. Like you're like, man, should I take that job? And then you look up and it's like 222. You're like, oh. It happens all the time. Your birthday, if that's really special to you, my 9/21 is just crazy. So yeah, I do believe in numerology. Pythagoras swore that that's the way God communicated, through math and numbers, sacred geometry. So I do believe that there's something to mathematics. I mean, we created it. We are manifestations of it. Therefore, there has to be a connection. I don't believe we are random. I don't. You know, I'll tell you, you all remember when the person occupying the White House, whether you believe he got shot or not, you remember that whole day? I was like, you have got to be kidding me. I knew he was going to win. I was just like, you can't make this up. You have got to be kidding me. Because he now has the martyrdom like hero thing on him. And people fall for that every time. And I was like, what in the world? Are there demonic forces? I started going on the dark side, man. I was like, this is crazy. This is evil. But I realized that there perhaps is something above our pay grade working and operating in a way that we cannot understand. And I think we're going to begin to see that soon. We're already starting to see the tide turning. And maybe this was, I hate to say, necessary for our growth and development. So do I believe that there's something more divine happening? Yes, I do. I sometimes get glimpses of it and I try to explain it to you, but then it throws a curveball. We plan, as they say, God laughs, or, spirit laughs. So I try to have a light-hearted spirit about it. So oftentimes I just burst out laughing and say, "You got to be kidding me." And behind that, there's a lot of people suffering. So it's not a joking matter. So I recognize that too. If the person occupying the White House walked into the sanctuary, how should we respond? Like we were raised. Like we were raised to respond. Like we were raised to respond. But when you're in Rome, you do as the Romans. When you're in the UU space, you have to operate by our values. This is our turf. So we will respect the inherent worth and dignity that office demands. And he will understand. By the way, this will never happen. And he will be required to respect our values. So we'll show him compassion and moral clarity. How do we best respond? How do we best spread the centering of love in our world? Well, if you watch cell growth, everything starts with like this one thing: cancer cell. It's just one. It's the monad. Everything starts with one, and then it replicates, and it gets about to 3, and then it just has a life of its own, for better and for worse. So we actually really don't believe or fully understand the power of one, the power of a small group of Christians in a Greco-Roman world that created the largest religion in the world with mythology. I'm going to tell you all about this book I'm reading one day. I find it fascinating. One person, as you all know from our current person occupying the White House, can have a huge impact. And when that one person is removed, in the case of that person, or Martin Luther King, notice how the energy just shifted immediately. One person can have a huge impact. There's your answer. You live your values with your family, with your friends, at your job. You tell your stories. That's how we're going to make a difference. And as I read this book I'm reading, I keep thinking, as I'm listening to the stories of how early church developed, I swear it sounds like us. And I'm trying not to let my ego get the best of me, but I swear it sounds like us. It could be that 500 years from now, this is the major religion in the world. I'm serious. And you know what? They believed. And what they had to say was radically better in the time that they were saying it. And that got worn out and worn down, and radically better. So, with so much need in the world, how do we keep from giving up? How do we balance stress about the state of the world with meaningful action? When you're in it, you care fully. You care full. I did this sermon during the pandemic. You care full. You give your heart, your blood, sweat, and tears. You care. And then you care less. You literally walk away from it because you have to. And if you care so much that it consumes you, that's your ego. Check yourself before you wreck yourself. It's not about you. Careful. Take your break. Put your foot on the gas. Sometimes you put your foot on the gas. Sometimes you coast. Sometimes you hit the brakes. There's your answer. And if you're at that point, like, I don't like the world anymore. When there are 1,000 bad things happen and 1,000 good things happening simultaneously, it's like, where's your focus? It's time for you to hit the brakes. Careful, careless. So why are you excited about offering a preschool at UUCA? I wonder who sent this question. Sarah Devlin Trimble. She wanted you to know that this is also one of my dreams. In fact, I talked to her about it 6 years ago when she was a member of the church and told me she had started a preschool before. And I said, we should have one of those here. Why should the Catholics and the Protestants have all the fun? They have been inculcating their ideas in people for years. How many of y'all went to Catholic school? Exactly. And some of it's not good. You've been working years to like get that stuff out. Why not a UU school? When we started Camp Beagle, it was the same thing. Instead of vacation Bible study, hey, let's have our own camp. Why can't we have our own camp? Well, why can't we have our own preschool with these UU values, which is what the world needs? And I say that not in a fundamentalistic way. I know there's a fine line. So I really want to see this happening. And it's a huge revenue stream, by the way. And it brings more members to the congregation. If they want their kids in the school, guess what? They share our values. So the preschool is theology in action. I'm looking forward to it. So this last one is something I can't do alone, but the person says, could UUCA support families year-round through social services? I've been seeing these pop up where people are setting up these big networks and people are getting a family to take care of. I think this is a brilliant idea. It's a massive project, and as you all know, members can start programs, but it takes 3 of you. So whoever has this idea, find 3 members, bring it to the staff, and we'll see how we can do it. We do not want to, we're 60, 70 programs in the church. We do not like to say no. If there's 3 people with energy, go for it. But it needs structure to be sustainable. And this is a lot of work. If we want to create a network of social services to help people with, food, clothing, supplies, birthdays, not birthdays, that sort of thing. And members of the church sponsor these people, that would take a huge effort. And I'm not willing to do that unless there's a large contingent of people, like we do with winter relief. So, my big takeaway is I don't consider myself an expert in anything, but I have been a minister for 20 years. And I've learned a lot. I've read tons of books and married and buried, as they say, and taught hundreds of people. And I've learned a few things. But the thing is, I continue to question. When I finally come to a conclusion, I question the conclusion. So I will die with very few answers. And I'm okay with that. In fact, I feel free. So every time you think you have it figured out, ask more questions. Curiosity didn't actually kill the cat. It taught the cat how to stand by doors and wait and get whatever it wanted. Blessings. Thank you.